relationships with our mom, they can be really complex. And then you bring mother and daughter, and that's even much more complicated it can get. So when Mother's Day comes around, there are those of us who go and see that beautiful Hallmark card that just says the right and perfect thing about how we feel about our mom and the relationship that we have. And we go, yeah, this is right. And then there are some of us who go and look at the cards and go, bleh! You know? Because that's not how we feel. And that's okay too. I think there's a niche for maybe the unmothered cards, you know? So I'm claiming that. We'll see what happens there. But because of such a spectrum of how we feel about our mom, I want to honor each and every way that it's expressed. No wrong, no right, no blame. Just is that relationship. So today what we're going to do is we're going to talk about Gaia, known as Mother Earth, the great mother of all. But before we get there, I want to ask you, where do we come up with the concept of what a mother should be like? Should be like. I hear no answers, so I'll give you one. Basically, it's formed by the collective unconscious, that we together decide what a certain concept or persona looks like. Usually they're symbols or examples or models that we say, yes, that's what that concept looks like. Of course, when we look at mother, there's an archetype with that. So for example, when you see a picture of a mom breastfeeding her baby, you think, wow, that's a mom. When we see a mom baking cookies, right, for her kids for after school, we go, yeah, that's a mom. Or we see a picture of a mom having a conversation with her child about how the world works, right? We go, yeah, that's a mom. So basically, we have an archetype about moms. We say moms are unconditional love. They're nurturers. They have these amazing maternal instincts, and that they will sacrifice everything for their child. Now, and then we have people that sometimes we go, what are you? Were you raised by wolves? Right? They're missing some of those things that we think, wow, you should get that from your mom, right? In that training. Because what's really interesting in this quote that I love, there's no room in the mother myth for the mother who resents all the attention her infant or toddler needs, or who chafes at the necessary loss of freedom and self-focus the transition into motherhood usually entails. We don't normally talk about that, right? But what are some examples of how that would occur? What about in a culture where it's expected that once you reach a certain age, you will have a child? What about women who get pregnant very early and they have this child that they are responsible for taking care of and they haven't finished playing yet as a young adult? What about those moms who just really didn't want to have children, but because of the constraints of society, they have children? There needs to be room for that as well. And that's known as a reversed archetype. And we do have in our consciousness, through myths and fables, representations of that. So we're talking about Cindy's stepmom, right, and Cinderella. She was not the warm, cuddly, nurturing type, now was she? Right? We've got Cruella de Vil. We've got the Queen in Snow White. Those are not nurturing mothers. So that's why they're considered the reverse archetype. What I love about the reverse archetype is that if we have moms that don't fit into the perfect mother archetype, it allows us to see examples of that other type of mother. And then we have a story there which allows us to go, if Cinderella can make it, so can I. I can survive that. Now, the kind of interesting piece on the end of that is they're always saved by Prince Charming. And that in itself is a whole nother talk, but not today. So we're going to talk about the Great Mother, now that we know all of this. This quote comes from Mothers, Witches, and Power of Archetypes by Dale M. Kushner, and she wrote it in Psychology Today. The previous quote comes from Peg Strepp, who wrote a book called Mean Mothers. This one says, behind the personal mother is the archetype of the Great Mother. She is the force that drives creation and destruction, fecundity, but also the barren womb. The Great Mother is Mother Nature, who brings us fruit and grain, but also hurricanes, drought, locusts. It's the both. It's the and. It's the all. Next quote. Same author of Mothers, Witches, and Power of Archetypes. She says, Gaia, Mother Earth, she is not our birth mother. She is the psychic heritage of what motherhood attains, and she carries within her the poles of good and bad mothers that come down to us through fairy tales and myths. So it's the Alpha and the Omega, the allness. We get so caught up in what good mothering looks like and what bad mothering is, as opposed to mother just is, another being like you and I, divine, human, foibles, mistakes, success, what the hell, I don't know what I'm doing here. All of that, right? All of that is mother. And then we have a scientist named James Lovelock who formulated the Gaia hypothesis. And he states that in all life and all living things on this planet are part of a single, all-encompassing global entity or consciousness, which he named Gaia. It is this global consciousness, Mother Gaia, that makes our planet capable of supporting life, while our near neighbors in the solar system are barren. Gaia. We talk about Mother Earth, the fruit, the joy, the sun, the lush landscapes, the mountains, the valleys, the rivers, the oceans, and we call that good. And then a hurricane comes. Is that not also good? We may not like the outcome of said hurricane, but that is Mother Earth's way of doing her own cleansing that needs to happen. It's a whole system. And this is also quite similar to what we talk about when we talk about oneness in the universe, isn't it? Right? So the Earth here is a microcosm of the whole. Oneness. Oneness. No good, no bad, just is. Just is. So today, what I'm asking you to do is to create a new story for yourselves with your relationship with your mom. I'm going to invite Patrick to come on up, and he's going to prepare us for meditation. And as he prepares us, what I'd like you to be thinking about is your relationship with your mom. What's it like? What do you feel about your mom? And then in meditation, what we'll do is we'll work through some of those feelings. Just know that whatever that relationship is, there is no shame. No shame, no blame. Just is.